Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute masterclass in blunt, unapologetic financial discipline. We're going to be looking at a set of rules from financial commentator Mark Tilbury. It's 5 very specific tips to save money that, frankly, most people just won't tell you. And why is that? Well, because they aren't easy. Building wealth isn't always about making comfortable choices. It often requires real friction, setting super hard boundaries, and completely ignoring what everyone else expects you to do. We're going to visualize exactly what this kind of radical discipline looks like.
Okay, let's dive into this right away, starting with a rule that's honestly incredibly stark. Secure the bag before the girl. It's provocative, right? It's direct, and it immediately sets the tone for everything we're going to learn today. See, this isn't your standard, hey, skip your daily latte kind of advice. This is about foundational life priorities. So, here are the 5 contrarian rules we're breaking down today. 1. Secure the bag before the girl. 2. Start saying no without explaining yourself. 3. Carry cash so it hurts when you spend. 4. Move back home and save on rent. And 5. Never borrow for lifestyle. Boom. 5 rapid-fire tips. Now let's break them down to really understand the powerful logic behind each one. Part 1. The social cost, focusing on setting brutal boundaries.
So the crucial point is that establishing your personal financial security simply must come before fulfilling romantic or societal expectations. The bag represents your financial foundation, your savings, your overall stability. When you're just starting out, your resources, your time, your energy, your money, they're highly limited. If you divert those limited resources into keeping up appearances, like buying rounds of drinks you definitely can't afford, or funding lavish dates, well, before you have a solid financial base, you're literally sabotaging your own future. This rule demands that you prioritize your own economic survival and growth first. Absolutely crucial.
Building on that need for boundaries, we arrive at Rule 2. Think about how often you spend money simply because you feel socially obligated. A friend wants to go to a super expensive dinner, or maybe a coworker is collecting for a pricey gift. Tilbury's second rule is to start saying no. But the real magic is in the second half of that sentence, without explaining yourself. The very moment you offer an excuse, like, oh, I really can't afford it this week, you immediately invite a negotiation. People will try to problem solve your excuse. An unapologetic, direct boundary completely protects your wallet, because a simple, firm no leaves absolutely no room for social pressure to pry open your bank account. Part 2, the psychological cost, shifting our focus to the friction of spending. Now, what's really interesting here is that specific word hurts. Why on earth would we want spending money to hurt? Well, it's because human psychology is entirely wired to avoid pain. When we just tap a piece of plastic or double-click our smartphones, the transaction is totally abstract. It doesn't feel real. But when you are forced to physically hand over a tangible representation of your hard work, cold, hard cash, your brain actually registers the loss. Tilbury's rule brilliantly leverages our own psychological discomfort to short-circuit impulse buying. Because if it actually hurts to hand over the cash, you're only going to buy what truly matters. On one hand, you've got digital spending, which is literally designed by corporations to be entirely frictionless. I mean, they want you to spend without even thinking about it. But physical cash? That is pure friction. By carrying cash, you're intentionally placing a psychological speed bump right between your desires and your wallet. You're taking back control by making the act of spending a conscious, slightly painful decision rather than just some passive reflex. Part 3, the lifestyle cost. This is where we look at radical life sacrifices. Here is a blunt reality that honestly shocks a lot of people. Drastically downgrading your lifestyle is one of the single most powerful wealth-building tools you have at your disposal. Moving back home requires sacrificing your independence, and yeah, for sure, dealing with a massive hit to your ego when you revert to living under your parents' roof. But let's just look at the math for a second. Rent is usually the single largest expense for any adult. By eliminating it entirely, you free up massive amounts of capital that can be funneled directly into savings and investments. It's a radical sacrifice of your current comfort for the sake of permanent future freedom. Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate financial trap. Rule 5 states, never borrow for lifestyle. We've talked a lot about saving money, but this is about not actively destroying your wealth. Borrowing for a business or a primary residence, that can be leverage. But borrowing for lifestyle, financing a luxury car you can't really afford, putting a lavish vacation on a credit card, buying designer clothes on payment plans, that is a financial death sentence. And this brilliantly illustrates the true consequence of breaking that rule. 2x. Double. If you borrow to fund a lifestyle you haven't actually earned yet, the interest you pay means that item is going to cost you double by the time you've actually paid it off. Just pause and really think about that for a second. Every single time you swipe a credit card for a luxury experience and carry the balance, you're agreeing to pay twice the actual price tag. It is the exact opposite of winning with money.
So let's pull the whole shebang together into one cohesive picture. Winning with money isn't an accident. It requires managing the social cost by securing your financial foundation and saying no to protect your focus. It requires managing the psychological cost by carrying cash, introducing that necessary friction we talked about to stop mindless spending, and finally, managing the lifestyle cost by making really radical choices like moving home to generate massive savings and absolutely refusing to take on debt that will cause a 2x loss.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this explainer. Building wealth isn't about finding a secret, pain-free shortcut. It's about intentional friction. It's about setting boundaries that might upset people, actually feeling the physical sting of handing over cash, and sacrificing your ego to avoid debt. So I'm going to leave you with this final question. Are you willing to face the pain of saving to win with money? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.